So you're done with the most important aspect of your career and you're looking for a job? Yes. Still confused how to crack your personal interviews? Don't worry, I'm there to help you out today. Hi, my name is Jiskiran. I'm the Quality Coordinator with Department of Career Planning and Development, Chandigarh University. And this session, we are going to go through a roller coaster ride on how to crack your personal interviews. The most important aspect that helps you go ahead in your careers and in your lives to progress from being a student to an employee, to how to make this transition very valuable for yourselves and how to crack your dream jobs and those tough personal interview rounds. We'll have the in-depth discussion on the same. But let's begin with something that COVID has pushed us into. What is that? That is the new virtual world. So what has happened with COVID? COVID has made the process of recruitment virtual, turning group discussions, online tests, and even personal interviews online. So for that, it is very important, being a candidate, that I understand I need to maintain my video aesthetics. With almost every recruitment drive running online, I, being a candidate, should be aware of that what is visible on my screen makes a lot of impact for me as a candidate fetching a job, on the interviewer considering me as a prospective employee. Now, let's talk about the most important aspect of this new normal, your video aesthetics. Now, whenever you choose to sit for your scheduled personal interview rounds, it is very important that you understand that you need to choose your place of sitting very meticulously, which means that you should be aware that the background that comes into that camera angle or the frame of your camera, it should be plain. It should be brightly lit so that your face is visible, so that there are no shadows coming onto your screen and hampering the quality of your video. Try to avoid heavily textured backgrounds or backgrounds with different colored curtains. Try to have a plain background and a background that is well lit. Now, assume that Mr. Bean is running a video. You're able to comprehend what is going on, but you're not able to listen because there is no sound. So you need to be very careful about your audio. Is the audio input correct? Are you being able to send across your messages in the right manner? Which means that the audio flow should be seamless. Next comes your video. Now, you should be very careful about the quality of the camera available in your laptop, so that even if you've set your background right, you have set the lights proper, you've arranged for artificial lights, your audio is good, but the camera quality is poor, the impression that you make on the interviewer will be different. So you should be arranging for an extra webcam if the camera quality of your own laptop is not really good. So how do you check that? Make a video, try a demo video, record yourselves, check the audio, check the video, check the background, check the light before you actually sit for your scheduled interview. Another major area that plays an important role but we at times neglect it as candidates is the noise disturbance. Imagine yourselves as employees who are delivering a very important presentation to a client and there is a regular sound interference, either of the barking dogs or somebody opening the doors, closing them, slamming the furniture. Would you like that? Would the client be interested in you giving your presentation in such a noisy atmosphere? No. Same is the case. So when you are a candidate, you are appearing for an interview on a virtual platform, you need to ensure that there is no noise disturbance of any kind from your end. Now, most of the times, we've seen a number of students who forget that maintaining the right posture and maintaining the right camera angle is very important when you sit for a virtual placement. Why? You've set everything right, you've set your artificial lights, you've arranged for a webcam, your audio quality is good, your background is all set, we've maintained all the aesthetics, but you are out of picture. You are either sitting towards one side of the camera frame, or you're sitting towards the other side of the camera frame, or the angle is in a manner that half of the roof or the ceiling is visible and only your face is visible, or you're sitting too close to the camera like this. That should not be the case. Check again. How do you do that? Record yourselves. Check whether the angle that you are giving in the video, is that suitable enough? Is your face, your body in the center of the camera? If not, how do you align yourself? This should be your homework before you sit for the actual scheduled interview. Now, the last point under video aesthetics, something that is really important is that if you're not able to choose a plain background, and you were able to choose a background that has certain kind of a backdrop. Now there is a difference between a background and a backdrop. I hope all of you understand that. Now the backdrop has certain items that are not arranged aesthetically, not in symmetry. Then things are not decluttered, so it looks very distracting and disturbing. The visual appeal is hampered. You are not able to make the right positive impact on your interviewer. So be careful about all these aspects whenever you plan to sit for a virtual online interview. The next important aspect when we talk about interviews is punctuality. Most of the candidates do neglect this, the value of this important aspect. Not only does punctuality speak volumes about your moral values and ethics, but it also speaks volumes about the kind of work culture that you would bring into an organization. So how do you become punctual? You are organized with your task and you set a schedule. You know that you have an interview lined up at 10 a.m. That means you do not get up at 9 and start thinking about what to do, where to go. You plan your day. You are aware about where to go, how to go, and where to reach, to whom to contact. If you are preparing for an online interview, you should be ready with the links. You should be aware of which platform to use. If the online interview is scheduled at 10, you should be opening the links maximum by 9:40 so that you are aware, you're familiar with that platform. Your links are working, they are operational, and God forbid, if there is any problem, you're able to contact the organization or your coordinators in time so that your interview is not hampered. So punctuality, my dear students, is a very important aspect, and all the keen interviewers look for the same. They check for the same. Whether are you punctual or not. So be careful that you maintain the same. I'd like to touch upon an area that most of us, being the candidates, neglect. We keep it aside because we feel that if I'm prepared with my own credentials, my documents are ready, I have them handy, I have my resume copy, I am aware about what I have written on my resume, I am all set for the interview. But I do not do what? I am not prepared about the company. So that will have a very negative impact in the interview when the interviewer starts cross-questioning you about the company. You should be aware about the company. Remember, research is the key. You should be thoroughly prepared about what the company is, what is the job profile that is being offered, And what is the job description? Now see, there is a difference between a job profile and the job description, wherein you need a profile relates to certain roles and responsibilities that you will be doing when you're selected as an employee for that post, whereas a job description lists out all the key skills that you will implement in your job profile. So it's very imperative that you understand that not only knowing about the company, its mission, its objectives, its current status, you read about the latest news related to the company to know about it, something that has happened recently in the industry that has impacted the company, what is valuable for the organization, what are the products or services that are offered by the company. So all of this is important. You should be aware of the same. And that is called the company research, which you should be doing at least a day before your interview. Not after reaching the venue, now you read that this was the organization, or right when your interview is scheduled, you start researching online that this is the company. No. It's a very vital aspect and you should be very careful about the same. Now let's prepare for the interview. I have researched, I have my resume ready. What other things do I require? You need to dress formally. That's the first and the foremost important thing. Even if the interview is on a virtual platform, or you are appearing for an interview through a physical in-person meeting, your appearance, your attire speaks volumes about your personality. So if you're not able to adhere to a formal dress code, the impact that you will make in the interview is marred down. You will ruin your chances to being perceived as a person with sensible dressing sense and acute professionalism. Now with that, hand in hand comes your knowledge of what is a professional or a formal attire. Remember, for boys, you should be wearing ironed shirts, light colors, try to adorn yourself with a tie. A tie should be of a contrasting color, but that does not mean that you go in for very distracting colors. Ma'am, you said it should be plain, so I'm wearing a plain blue shirt, but I could not get a red tie or a navy blue tie to complement the same. I'm wearing a yellow one. Is that okay? No, it's not okay. It's not okay. So you should be careful about the color combinations too, because visual distractions play an important role. Now, the underlying aspect of dressing formally, imagine somebody in acute dressing sense, very formally dressed, proper shoes matching with the attire, a blazer, a tie, everything ready. But the moment that you look onto the person's face, you no longer seem to be interested in conducting the interview because the person is not well groomed. The hair is not tidily done. It's unkempt. The beard is not properly done. If you shave, do a proper shave. If you like to keep a beard, trim it properly. Try to avoid studs, try to avoid jewelry. Same is the case for girls. You should be avoiding a lot of jewelry. Avoid wearing heavy earrings, going for studs or small loops or small hanging. When it comes to your rings, it should be minimal, only one, both for the case of men and women. Try to avoid jewelry that creates a lot of sound, so it's called bling-jing. Glittery jewelry, try to avoid that. It should not be carried in an interview. Remember, until and unless, yes, of course, you are a model and you're appearing for a fashion interview, so you can adorn yourself in any which way. But appearing for a corporate interview, the culture is really different. So you need to adjust yourself accordingly. Groom yourselves. Your hands, your nails should be properly cut. You're using your hands, it is visible. You should be having open gestures. Confidence plays a very vital role. Your eyes, your gestures, your body language, the way that you sit, the way that you carry yourself, the way that you speak, the fluency in your thoughts, fluency in your speech, the way that you express your ideas, the way that you are not nervous when you are pushed with one question after the other, the way that you do not get dislocated from your comfort zone is an indicator of your confidence level. So you should be very confident. Prepare sample answers for certain common questions that every interview has. For example, tell me something about yourself. Why should I hire you? We'd like to have this in the night shift. Would that be okay with you? We also have an office down in the south. Would you like to become a part of the organization there? Are there any particular issues? What are your interests and hobbies? How did you do this particular project? Have you ever been in the position of a leader? Questions like this that are almost asked in every other interview. You should be preparing sample answers for it. I'll come to that particular aspect at length of how to prepare sample answers. But when you prepare for your interview, it's important that you prepare certain sample answers. So the moment the question is asked, you're confidently giving your reply. And remember, it should never look a crammed version. You should not be cramming your answers. You should be thorough with the same. Maintaining a fluency, you should be answering accordingly. But preparing sample answers, that does not mean that you write them down, cram them up, and the moment that you're talking about the same, you forget about it, you're looking here and there, and you're no longer interested in answering. You're only interested in focusing on the lost word. So don't do that, okay? Keep your resume copies handy. The resume is a mirror image that you present to your interviewer. Why a mirror image? Because that 1 page or 1.5 page is going to project the kind of individual or the kind of candidate you are. So the interviewer is going to judge you whether or not your capabilities as listed in the resume would match for the job profile that they're looking for. Can they turn you from a candidate to an employee? It's important for you to understand the same. Even if you're appearing for a virtual interview on an online platform, you should understand that resume is an integral part of your interview. You should have the soft copies of your resume ready, on screen, opened before you start the interview, so that the moment the interviewer asks for the same, you can share it, right? And you should be aware of how to share files on that open platform, be it Google Meets, be it Zoom or Skype, or any other platform that the company chooses. But you should be aware, you should be familiar of how to share files if the interviewer asks for your resume, right? Now, not only is preparing resume important, it is equally important that I am aware of my resume inside and out, which means every word that I list on my resume, I should have thorough knowledge on the same. Do not copy paste resumes. You have a unique personality. Remember that always. Everybody is unique. Everybody has undergone schooling, education, projects in a different manner, because we perceive things differently. We have our own mindset. So what we learn out of certain situations is entirely different. You cannot copy paste a resume somebody made in the class and only change your name, your mother's name, your father's name, and the task is done. No, please don't do that. Own your resume. Once you start to own your resume, you will be aware of what career objective have you written. You will be able to answer questions that the interviewer asks you for cross-questioning on your objective, your professional summary, your projects that you've done, the trainings that you've done, the role that you played. How did you become interested in a certain hobby that you have listed? What are the areas that relate to that hobby, or what can be the questions that can be asked on that hobby itself? So talking about your resume, you'll not require anybody's help. No prepared answers for it. You know what is there. You know why have you written that particular word in your resume. Next, be focused. A number of times what happens in an online interview particularly is The moment certain questions are asked that we are not comfortable with, we lose interest and we are no longer focused towards the interview, because everything around me is distracting. I'm not sitting in an actual interview room, so I get distracted by things. I'm not focused. That is why, remember, at the start we focus on something that says background, noise-free environment, free from distraction, so that you are mentally available for the interview. And of course, you need to be mentally prepared that you have an interview. You need to do it with your 100% attempt so that you're able to get that dream job. Now let's talk about a little more about your virtual interviews. What other things you need to take care of? Like I mentioned, you should be technology savvy. You should be aware of using your laptop, of course, using that online platform which is proposed by the company, that they would be conducting the interview on that platform. So try to give a mock with your friends or your family so that you are aware of how to mute yourself, unmute yourself, share your video, share your files. If somebody asks you for your projects, reports, anything related to your resume, you're able to share it instantly and you do not appear to be confused or carried away with that use of technology. You should be tech savvy. A very important aspect at times which is neglected by the candidates is that if the interview is online, there should be an uninterrupted internet connectivity throughout the virtual interview, so that your interviews are not hampered in between. Nobody would like that you were speaking something, your half of the interview was going on a very good pace, but suddenly there is an internet disconnectivity and you are not able to connect back soon. The interviewer will lose interest, will no longer be interested in the same. So you should maintain, of course, that also now comes with the underlying aspect that data that you carry for your every day, it should be saved for that virtual interview to be conducted. You should be prepared for the same. You should have backup of your data. You should always check what is the screen name that is being displayed on screen when you appear for your interviews. At times, the mistake that students make is that they have certain IDs with the names of Angel, Devil, Avengers, Marvels, something like that, with what they've created, their Gmail accounts or other email accounts, and they directly link it. The same name appears for the interview. You should be checking your screen name. Preferably, it should be your UID underscore your name, or your name underscore your UID underscore your branch, so that the interviewer is able to recognize you there and then and does not seek your UID time and again. It is always advisable that you keep a notepad or a notebook and a pen handy, so that if there are certain coding questions, certain examples that need to be given, you have everything ready. You're not leaving your space to get your things from across the room and preparing for the interview again. You should be prepared for it, right? Now let's move on to the aspect of body language, which is very important. Now if you look at the picture on screen, who do you think is the most interested candidate? None of them. And why do you think they are not interested? Why do you think they will not be selected? Yes, because the body language that they carry depicts they are not ready for the interview. They are not interested. They are not confident about the same. They are confused. So, sit straight. Your shoulders should be open, right? Your gestures should be open. Wear a confident smile. It speaks through your eyes. It speaks through your lips. The way that you smile will depict your confidence. Talk with your expressions. Your eyes talk. The moment that you're confused about something, your face is going to reflect the same. The moment that you get dislocated, nervous, when the interviewer has pushed you out of your comfort zone into your stress interview zone, it will show on your face if you're not confident. So talk with your expressions. When you're talking about something happy, it should reflect on your face. You're talking about an accomplishment, pride should reflect on your face. Everything can be played along when you are modulating your voice and those expressions that come in your speech as well. Try to use open gestures. You have to sit straight, sitting in a chair, but that does not mean that somebody has tied your hands there with the chairs or the arms of the chair and you cannot move. Use your gestures, use your hands with open palms. These are always an indicator that you're open to interactions, you're open to discussions. So you should be using the same. Be steady in your seat. That's one thing that I would like to stress upon. Now what happens is, at times when particularly virtual interviews are conducted, the moment that you're a little confident about yourself, so you sit back a little more relaxed like this, you keep on revolving in the chair, wobbling around, putting yourself on a vibration mode like this. Please don't do that. You're here for a professional personal interview. Always remember that at the backdrop of your head, that you're appearing for an interview. You cannot be casual about it, right? Let's try and learn something about how to answer questions. There are different techniques that we can apply, but before coming on to the answer, it is important for me, pivotal for me to understand that I need to listen carefully. Then I should be trying and adding examples to my answer. For example, if I talk about hobbies or what do you like to do in your free time? Though I rarely get free time, I'm going to narrate an answer to you. Though I rarely get a free time, but whenever I do, I like to utilize my time in gardening. Ever since I was a child, I was fascinated by the ways flowers would bloom and I would like to take care of them. So I have always had a keen passion for gardening and I've maintained a small garden area wherein I have small plants that I would like to nurture, water them every day, take care of their growth. So that is one thing that relaxes my mind. This is the kind of answer that you should be giving. Instead of, what is your hobby? Gardening is my hobby. Reading books is my hobby. But I'm not able to tell why reading books is my hobby. My answer should be elaborate yet concise enough that I'm talking to the point and very correctly. If you're not able to comprehend a question, there is no doubt in asking it from the interviewer again. They do not get offended by it. Instead, they're happy that if you were not clear about something, you have asked it again. You have the guts, you have that understanding to ask again. You do not go in by misinterpretations. So it's a positive aspect. If you are not able to comprehend a question, you can always ask again. Do not get emotionally disturbed. If you're talking about your past, you're talking about certain sad incidents, don't start crying in an interview. You're talking about your accomplishments, don't become overly excited. So maintain an emotional stable state and use the STAR approach to answer your question. Now what is the STAR approach? Particularly this helps when you're answering behavioral questions. Now what happens in behavioral questions is, for example, you are hired by the organization and you have your final submission presentation with a client who's going to give a green signal for a $5 billion deal. You're running late for the presentation. On the way you meet up with an accident. Your friend is badly injured. You only have 15 minutes to reach the office for the presentation. What will you do? Now what do? You need to think about it. Try to use the STAR approach. Now the STAR approach says you talk about the situation. You talk about what? Next comes your task. You talk about the action that you take and you talk about the results. Let's take another example. Talk about a project that you made. Talk about a situation where you were able to lead a team. So we were working on a project and for that project we had to submit a code in 1 hour. All of us were working meticulously but one of my team members suddenly fell sick and required medical aid. So all of us were focused there and we got distracted. But being the team leader, I took it upon myself that I make the medical aid available, yet I am focused on my project and the task that was required to be done by my fellow team member, I should also finish the same. Luckily enough, all of us working together, we were also able to assist our team member with the medical aid and complete the code not just in 1 hour but only in 50 minutes, and we emerged as the first runners up of that competition. So that is an elaboration example that uses situation, task, action that you did, and also tells us about the result. This is what the interviewer is looking for. Try and remember that you should be using action words, also called as resume specific vocabulary. Now what happens in a resume specific vocabulary is that you use words like delegated, administered, I monitored the project, I delegated the responsibility, I organized an event. Words like these are called action verbs, and these should be used in the way that you answer questions. You should also remember that interview should aim at the IDA technique. Now, this means that the way that you answer the questions, you should grab attention of the interviewer. Again, that's an acronym, and this is what it stands for. You should be grabbing the attention of the interviewer. The way that you answer the questions, this attention that you have grabbed should move on to an interest, so that the interviewer now asks you further questions to know deep about that thing that you just answered. Then a desire is developed inside the interviewer, which leads him or her to the final action. What? To take you back as an employee and not leave you there as a candidate. You need to develop this in an interview. Last of all, remember, honesty is the best policy. That is always said. But that also comes along, one thing that I would always like my students to know is, for some questions at times, you're not present in that particular situation. You've not done something related to the same. But then you can cook up stories. You should learn the art of storytelling. Now for this, you should understand that once you narrate something, it should be done with such an amount of confidence that you are not nervous about it, you're not confused about it, and you answer it in a manner that the interviewer believes that you're answering on an honest tone. Right? Last of all, let's also just talk about something that creates stress in our mind. I was answering a question, and the moment that I was just halfway through the question, the interviewer gave me another question to answer. I have just started answering, my third question came up. I wanted to just open up my mouth, the fourth question came up. I am really stressed about what to answer, how to answer. So my interviewer has pushed me now into a zone that is now called my stress interview zone. Be always ready for the stress. But you need to learn the art of how to combat it. Stress interviews are never tough. If you understand that even if 4 questions have been asked in just 30 seconds, I should take out time, answer the most important question first, and then request the interviewer, sir, can I answer this question? Would you like me to answer the first question also? Or shall I go along with the last question? Can I complete up this answer? These are the ways that you can assert yourself. Assertiveness here plays a very vital role. But that can only come up if you are clear about what to answer and which questions to take up. And be confident in your speech. Do not appear nervous. Ye kya ho gaya hai? One phrase that my students always give back. Ma'am, we could not understand what was happening. They were asking questions. Everybody was asking questions. I could not comprehend whom to answer. Please don't do that. Listen. Prioritize and answer. That's the key to beat your stress interviews. Now with that, I hope that some of these key points of discussion will definitely help you in acing your interviews, turning your candidature into your employment somewhere down the line, really soon, and all of you emerge successful in all the personal interviews that you appeared for. And with this is just Kiran, the quality coordinator from Department of Career Planning and Development, signing off for the day, believing that all of you are unique and you'll be able to ace every personal interview with the utmost charm. Thank you and have a nice day.